Hey guys, this is Jerry. So, as many of you know, recently on a United flight, a doctor got forcibly reaccommodated by security. So I'm bringing in my friend Rob, who's done MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we're gonna go through some scenarios. How can you remove someone properly without hurting them? If you're being removed, how can you kind of not really fight back, but how can you just prevent yourself from being further hurt? Exactly. So that's kind of what we're gonna do. And so in the first situation, you know, we have the chairs kind of like an airline row, you know, no foot space whatsoever. Should even be like this. Yeah. But so let's say I have this much foot space and they want me reaccommodated, right?
So scenario number one is if I'm going to try and remove you without hurting you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if I'm a United Airlines police officer or whatever it is, and I want to try and remove you without hurting you, the first thing I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and prevent you from striking me. I also don't want you to accidentally elbow out and maybe hit somebody who's nearby. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go for the hands immediately. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I want to do is I want to find some sort of handle. So I'm going to probably go for the armpits, but I'm also going to make sure that these elbows aren't coming up and hitting me in the head. I'm also going to be looking for your head to make sure that you don't accidentally headbutt me in the nose, because you're probably worried or upset for good reason, and I want to make sure that I'm controlling your head with my head to make sure that it won't be hit. Does that make sense?
I see.
Or positioning my head so that you can't generate enough momentum to hit me.
Do that.
So I'm always conscious of your head point and your elbows and your hands. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go for, if I need to remove you into the aisle, I'm going to go ahead and go for a handle. I'm going to go for the armpits, but at the same time try and restrain the hands. Mm-hmm. Now in Jiu-Jitsu, what I like to do is I like to use this grip right here.
I see.
So I can hold in tight and I can prevent you from removing your wrists. But I'm going to be watching for the head, and I'm going to try and control the hips. If you control the hips, you control the entire body. So that's all. It's all about posture. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to watch for the head. I'm going to come in tight. I'm going to try and wrap around and grab the same wrist.
Oh, now I cannot flail my arms.
Exactly.
Like, see, I'm trying to flail my arms. I can't flail, and then I can't really do anything with my head.
Right. Exactly.
I could try to bite maybe, but then see, and then you move your.
Exactly.
I see. So now.
So now just lift.
Oh, look at this! Oh shit!
And because I've removed your base.
Yep.
I can just shimmy.
You get to shimmy me.
Out.
Oh my God.
And I don't have to worry about you accidentally hitting another
customer.
And I don't have to worry about you headbutting me because I keep pressure here. And I've removed your base. My hip is well underneath your hip.
Yep.
So you're not a danger to anybody else. The only thing that I might be concerned about is you may be kicking out to somebody. But if I have my hip high enough, every time that I feel that your body might be kicking somewhere, I can bring you down so that the kick doesn't go up to their faces. It might like hit the armrest.
Hit the armrest or whatever. Interesting. So you see the difference between how he did it and how the United people did it. The United people literally just pulled him in a Hail Mary pull. Yeah. They didn't even care where he landed. He had control of me. He made sure I didn't hurt him. I didn't hurt anyone else, but he also made sure I didn't get hurt.
Exactly.
You see, that's the difference. That's why if you're working security or you're doing anything that involves people, whether bouncing, you have to learn some sort of grappling.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that there are many other holds that I could have done that would be more, there's more torque on the shoulder. Say for instance, like if I came in and I wrapped your arm behind you like this, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I can go like this, and I'm not choking you.
Yeah.
But if I grab your shoulder, I can still lift.
Yeah, see, it forces me up because if I didn't go up, my shoulder would have broke.
Right. So that's a lawsuit in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why instead of doing that, because that's a stress position.
Yeah, that is a stress position.
A lot of times, you'll see in prisons they'll do this,
and
they'll walk you right out.
Yeah, because I can't resist. If I go this way, it's going to hurt me.
Exactly.
And so the only way I could maybe try to go, but yeah, it hurts me this way.
The only problem is that arm is not controlled at all. I have no way of controlling that arm. So as I'm trying to remove you, you might be
I'm going to be like, or holding on to this.
Exactly. So I as an employee or an officer or whatever it is, I wouldn't do the torque on the shoulder because that's a lawsuit in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come in, get the handles, grab the wrists, bring it in tight, and control the head, and just make sure that you're not going to flail and hurt anybody, and then just lift up and then get the posture.
Wow. if you look at the footage, the doctor was not being quote unquote belligerent. Like
No,
he was on the phone. He was like, "Oh, I'm not leaving," but he was trying to make a call, just trying to figure out his schedule.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, I mean, there's no doubt about it. This airline was completely at fault. No doubt about it.
So let's say I was belligerent. Let's say you came up to me. I'm like, "No," or something. What would you do then?
Well, again, I'm going to make sure that these elbows aren't striking me, and I'm going to make sure that you're not headbutting me or anything like that. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is, if I can try and keep the tricep down, then I'm not in danger so much of you striking me.
That's true.
Now, I do have to be considerate of the other passengers that are around. But say you're on a window seat. If you're on a window seat, now again, I would be much more gentle, but if these guys don't have any grappling experience, at least what they could do is trap the tricep, prevent the strike from occurring, and then push you up against the window. Does that make sense?
That makes
then
sense.
they can control you a little bit, enough to pull you out of the seat.
I see. Because it's like you don't want to fight his force with your own force. You want to go with it. Right. So if there's something here, let him flail, let him get tired. Yeah. Then
you put his all of his weapons. You put that way.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I'm going like this, you have there are no weapons.
Yeah, exactly. I can be like, but
I'm not concerned about anything that you're throwing at me at all, because I mean, there's nothing that's coming at me. So that's, in my opinion, that's the number one thing you want to do, is you want to eliminate the threat. Now, scenario number 2 is if you're the one that's being threatened, meaning you're trying to be forcibly removed from a place and you don't want your constitutional rights or your personal space violated, how do you prevent that from happening? Well, we have a phrase in Jiu-Jitsu is just basically like keep it tight. So you keep your elbows in tight and you're guarding your neck as well, because you have a lot of handles, be it on your wrist or on your collar or whatever it may be, things that they're going to grab. So they're going to be looking for this. They're going to be looking for the collar. And then, again, remember how I grabbed you kind of behind the neck? You want to prevent that from happening. So
I see.
Should we switch?
Yeah, let's switch. So
if you're going to try and grab me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate the handles. Remember, these are the handles right here underneath the armpit. So I keep my elbows in tight, and at the same time, I'm protecting my neck.
I see.
So if you try and grab around my neck,
now if I try to grab around your neck,
just keep it tight. If you try and remove me from the seat, just bring it in, right?
Oh, I see.
I just keep my neck guarded, my carotid guarded. I mean, hopefully they're not trying to choke you, but if they are trying to choke you, just keep it in tight right here.
Yeah.
And you prevent any sort of the arms slipping underneath. So if you try and go for my wrists,
can't do it, and I can't really see. I can't go through here.
And if you try and go for my wrists, grab my wrist real quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go for this, and what you want to do is you want to do a jerking motion away, and you want to make sure that the blade of your wrist is towards the fingers. So I'm going to blade my wrist towards the opening of the fingers, the thumb and the fingers. I'm not going to go towards this. I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to move it like that. Does that make sense?
I see.
And I bring it back.
You bring it back.
So every time they grab a wrist, go ahead and grab a wrist. Every time they grab a wrist, I'm going to angle towards the fingers to where they're joining, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to go like that.
I see.
Now if you grab both wrists, what I'm going to do is I have a blade here going this way, and I have a blade here going out this way. All I have to do is down, and this way up. So it's like a circular motion. So if you grab here again, if you grab here, I'm going to go down here and up here. Does that make sense?
Notice how he trapped my arm with his head.
Yeah, this is a 5th point. I'm always using the head as an extra fulcrum. So if you grab here, all I have to do is go in a circle.
Oh, you got me trapped.
I have control. And anytime that they grab wrists, it's just circular motion.
I see.
Towards the exit. You want to have the blade going towards this area. And then you just keep it in tight.
Keep it in tight.
And just don't give them anything to grab. They might try and go for the elbows, and you can just parry off essentially. This is kind of like Muay Thai parrying or whatever it may be. So yeah, just keep it in tight. Don't give them any handles. And if they do, for instance, grab your arm.
That's what I was going to say, because I think in the video, like one guy, I think he grabbed like this or something, but he definitely got a handle. So
if they do grab the arm like this, sometimes it helps to go limp. All right, so let's say that they've got you they're trying to force pressure on your shoulder. Sometimes what you want to do is just relax it. You don't necessarily want to force it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you can relax it, then you can move forward. But if you're trying to grab this arm and you're trying to take me that way, right? all I have to do is keep it in tight. Because when I do that, right, you're losing your grip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can, parry it off.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? So the idea is to don't give them any handles, keep it in tight, protect your neck, and just turtle up essentially.
Exactly.
Cool.
And let's say, what if worst case scenario, the cops do start striking? What would happen then?
Oh my gosh. Well, then you have a
huge lawsuit. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm always looking to defend the strike as well. So. The first thing I would do is I would face them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would face them head on. That way I can see any strikes that might be coming. Now, there's a collar chokes. If they are striking you, then you have the right to defend yourself.
Of course.
You can choke them. So if they're striking you, what I would do is I would first just bring them in and I would just do a collar choke. In which case you're basically just using your wrists. You would come in here and you would just bring it in tight and choke them right there. But they're going to be trying to strike you. So of course what you want to do is you want to restrain their strikes first.
Exactly. So let's say he comes in.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do in close quarters.
Oh, wow.
You got an arm triangle right there. If they're trying to strike you in these close quarters, yeah. So what you want to do is you want to take their elbow, go to your side, come in tight, and you just walk up the figure 4.
Yep. And he literally used his arms and my arms, and then bam, he applied some leverage.
Gave a triangle choke. Of course, that's only if they're striking.
Yeah, they're really trying to hurt you.
Now let's say they pick you up. Let's say for whatever reason they do restrain you.
Exactly.
They do pull you out. Yeah. If they have multiple people on you, it's going to be very difficult to get away from this. But let's say, for instance, that you're just one-on-one, right? And they're pulling you forward. Let's say that they're trying to pull you forward, right? What you want to do is, again, you want to go towards the weak point, which is the fingers right here. So you're going to jerk that way towards the weak point. Does that make sense? And then just try to get back to your seat and turtle up again.
I see. Now, remember how the doctor was on the ground?
Yeah.
I think maybe we could talk about that. We'd have to restructure the camera a little.
Well, they had 2 people, I think, on them, right? They had 2 people on the hands and 2 people on the, one person on the hands, 1 people on the feet.
Yeah, so
right?
in that case, the doctor couldn't
it's
do much.
very, very difficult in that scenario unless you just turtle up on the ground. Again, with the wrists, it's fairly easy. You can just rotate your wrists in a circular fashion, and that will typically break the grip. And then he can go back to doing this and defending his neck. With the feet, it's very difficult to do that. What he could do is, try and move out with his feet. To break the grip.
I see.
But again, 2-on-1, it's going to be really hard to defend that.
Yeah. And I had one more question. Let's go back to the scenario if you were restraining me.
Okay.
So, it's a natural reflex for most people when they're being restrained. Let's say they're not fighting this way. Like they'll start kicking maybe.
Right.
So let's say how would you prevent yourself from getting hurt, prevent me from hurting myself, and prevent me from hurting others if I start kicking?
So they have essentially what you want to do is you want to keep the weapons down. So if you can approach. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that you're not going to kick my knee backwards, that you're not going to hyperextend my knee. Because a well-placed heel on my kneecap can shoot my knee backwards and break my knee.
Ouch.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach with a bent knee, meaning that if you strike my knee, it's not going to force it backwards and break it. Does that make sense? Then I'm going to try and keep the weapons down. If I can try and keep these down, then I'm not worried necessarily about you striking me so much. So if I can keep them down, and then I'm going to be watching for the arms.
Exactly. Maybe I'll come up and flail my arms.
It's really about like keeping the weapons here and moving in. Does that make sense?
I see.
Because the farther away your arms are from your body, the weaker they are. So if I hold your arms out here, it's harder for you. It's also more hard for me to hold them here. Does that make sense? But if I hold your arms here, does that make sense? I have more strength in tight.
Exactly. Whereas I don't even have any force to launch if you hold them here.
Right.
I see.
So the farther away your arms are from your body, the more weak you are. That's why you keep, as the person that's being attacked, you keep everything in tight.
That makes sense. So there we go. I think we explored a lot of great concepts today. the point of me making this vlog and the point of Rob and I just going through some of these concepts, you know, not all of these things will work all the time. Not all of these things are foolproof, but we just want to give security and anybody who could be in this situation in the future better tools, so we don't see 3 people dragging a 69-year-old and then dragging them across the floor and he loses 2 teeth, and now there's going to be a huge lawsuit.
Right. I think the best thing that could have happened was for this guy to actually express verbally, like, help me, like humanize himself that way, because you have all these. The thing that happens is that when there's a lot of people around, everybody expects somebody else to act.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to look somebody in the eye and say, help me, like humanize yourself. Hey, please, I'm asking you to help me, so that they know that there's a real call to action. I think that if he had done that, if he had really identified with a few people in the passenger cargo area, that they probably would have stood up for him. But I think that so many people are terrified now to be labeled, insurgent or whatever you want to call it, that they just stand by idly.
Yeah, and I think Rob made a good point, which is if you look at how the doctor reacted, I mean, I'm not blaming him. If I had 3 people pulling me, I'd yell too, but he was literally shrieking. He wasn't vocalizing what was going on. So maybe people who didn't see, who weren't sitting near him, thought he was being belligerent.
Right.
But like Rob said, help, help, or so eye contact's very important, right? To look at someone, help, like look, make sure, because it's very easy for me not to care. If I see someone I don't care about, or if it's like the 20 homeless people I stumble on every day, sometimes I don't look at them. But if they look me in the eye, they're like, can you give me some change? I might be more likely to help them.
You gotta humanize it.
Yeah, you gotta humanize it. So if you're being attacked, like help, maybe say something, hey, a woman, or something, like mention someone, help me, or man with the shirt, please help me. Vocalize it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's. I think that's the best case scenario is, somebody would have come to his defense. If I was on the plane, I would have walked out. Honestly, for one, I've had terrible experiences with American Airlines and United, so they will not get any business from me ever again.
Exactly. Me neither. You've all heard my story. So again, Rob, thank you so much.
No problem.
You can follow him on Instagram. I'll link all his stuff, and he's great.
No worries.
He's trained many years in BJJ MMA. He's taught me so much about all this stuff. So, and not to give it away, but he's coming out with the documentary soon. So
keep you guys updated.
Keep you guys updated. He'll be back. If this is on the Fight Commentary channel, you know him already. If this is on Jerry Lou, you've seen him in a cameo. This is Rob officially.
Hey.
So thank you guys so much, man. Bye-bye.